time is now. On everything. Took my heart away from money. I ain't interested in fame. And I pray that never change. Ambition is priceless. It's something that's in your veins. And I put that on my name.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Joe Knowledge YouTube channel. My name is Joe, and I am your host. And today I'd like to talk about Big 12 champs, Kansas State football. All right, K-State, Big 12 champs. Want to congratulate the team on a very successful season. The team ended with a 10-3 record, won the Big 12 championship game against TCU, and is now headed to the Sugar Bowl against Alabama. Very interesting season. Very interesting season. I don't think anyone could have foresaw how this played out. I think the team ended up with 2 starting quarterbacks on the team, which is a very good position to be in. I think that made the difference for this team. I think the way things played out with these 2 quarterbacks being able to play, that made the difference between where K-State is today and potentially losing one of those games in there, 1 to 2 games in there in the regular season that may have derailed the season's end, eventually making it to the Big 12 championship. So, what I want to do, I want to kind of talk through the season and point out some key events or key games where maybe a page was turned and K-State came out a better team after it. I think that happened a couple of times this season. So here we go. I'm showing you the schedule here. Kansas State Wildcats, Big 12 champs, 2022 schedule. To start the season, we've got brand new quarterback Adrian Martinez coming onto the scene. He's fresh from Nebraska, senior quarterback experience. And, I think we had high expectations for the team. We were expecting big things and we got them. So I think the key game for him, I think, came with Missouri, and we blew Missouri out. Missouri, Big 5, in the Big 5 conference, you never know what you're going to get. I was expecting, I think, more of a challenge, but our defense really came to play, and they could not stop us. For one, they could not stop Deuce Vaughn. Okay, dude is ridiculous. If you've seen this guy play, he's ridiculous. 5'6", maybe 170 pounds, and dude can just turn on a dime. I mean, that's a skill set. He can just turn on a dime and have you looking silly out there in the open field. And that's what he's done, right? So that game was big. Missouri was big for this team because it kind of showed us that, hey, we're good. We're good. Missouri's an SEC team, and they're not the top of that league, but we're good. We beat up on them. The next game was somewhat of a letdown. No one really knew how good Tulane was. I think we know now. But at the time, this was an upset. This was a pretty big upset. We went into this game and they beat us at home. All right, so that was big. Martinez had a good game and Vaughn had a decent game, a good game as well. But I think we just saw that Tulane was a pretty good team. I think they did not allow this team to they did not allow us to beat them with the passing game or the running game. But I think K-State wants to run the ball. I think that's big. I think we've got Deuce Vaughn, so teams are going to come out to try to stop him. He had 81 yards, but it just wasn't enough. Martinez had 150 passing. I think he had like maybe 50 to 55 rushing, and it just wasn't enough. I think what we saw was that Tulane was just a much better team than we thought. And so, but at the time it was a letdown. So that was big. How does a team respond? And the next game shows you how this team responded. It actually showed this was a high character team. It's a high character team, and it shows in how they responded the next week. Now, Oklahoma here sitting at number 6. We all now know that Oklahoma is not the number 6 team in the country, and they weren't then. But I think what this showed was that Adrian Martinez could run the ball. He can run the ball, and he can throw the ball when he needs to. But I think what came on display here was this dude could run the ball, period. And he decimated Oklahoma running the ball. They could not stop him, period. He won that game for Kansas State, period. And I think that showed us, hey, we got our guy. At this point in the season, we got our guy. And so I think things were looking up, especially after that Tulane loss. Now, we go through the season. All right, we get Texas Tech. We beat them. Martinez has a monster game rushing. I think after that Oklahoma game, we see he must be stopped, and teams have to learn how to stop him, and they have not yet. And so we used him in that manner again. He threw for some yards, but I think we realized, all right, we can do this with this quarterback running game, and we did. So that Texas Tech game was big, and K-State got the win. Now, to me, this Iowa State game was huge. This was huge. This is what I call a page was turned. So I'll say the Oklahoma game was one page. The Iowa State game was another page. Look at this score, guys. 10-9, right? So this was when you see a score like that, this was a very physical game. This was a defensive game. This was a game where offenses they were getting punched in the mouth, right? No one was really scoring. K-State wins this game 10-9. Look at these stats. All right, let's click on this. Okay, 10-9. Let's look at these stats. We're looking here at Adrian Martinez. Yeah, 12 for 19, but he's got 246 yards and a touchdown. He's also got 19 carries for 77 yards. So, we only scored one touchdown in the game, and they scored no touchdowns. They scored all field goals. This was a huge game for Adrian Martinez, and he took this game on his shoulders and carried this team to this win. And as we see later, this is where he was injured. This is where Adrian Martinez got injured. We didn't hear much about it because I think he ends up starting the next game, but he exits the next game, which I'll explain to you the narrative of that, because he was injured. So Adrian Martinez put his ass on the line and gave it to this game. And he wasn't quite the same after this. So this is a page turner. Many teams, you lose your starting quarterback. What do? You've got your backup in there. He's not as good. You might drop a couple of games. You're just not as good of a team. I'll tell you how it played out for K-State here shortly. But for this game, this was huge. When I watched this game, this showed me, look, this dude can play ball. And sky's the limit here. We can win some games. Now, I didn't know that he was hurt at the time. But looking back, I see now. He was hurt. He got hurt this game. He put his ass on the line, but he got hurt this game. Let's go back to the season. All right, so this is huge. This is huge, okay? So we go to TCU the next week, and we lose this game. Now, Adrian Martinez exits this game in the first quarter. He got the start, but like I said, he was hurt. So tried to go, couldn't go. Will Howard takes over. All right, Will Howard. He's been the backup. He's been on this team for a few years. But he's been a backup to Skylar Thompson, our previous quarterback, who now plays for the Miami Dolphins. And I had not seen him play well up until now. I don't want to say I have not seen him play well. We've seen him play serviceably. He played admirably, in the absence of Skylar Thompson. But it was going to be tough for him to win games the way he was playing. A running back or so, the receivers would have to play big to win the game. He himself was not going to win games previously, the image of him prior to this game. He comes into this game and started lighting it up. Let's take a look. Surprised me. I think they scored 21 points in the second quarter. Let's take a look. 21 points in the second quarter, 1 touchdown, 7 points in the first quarter. So he comes in and basically just scores 28 points just out of nowhere. This kid, 2 touchdowns, 13 for 20, 225. Yeah, but he scores 2 touchdowns. Okay. Look at this guy. Look at the second quarter. It already started in the first quarter. He hits Kate Warner for the touchdown. Then he comes out the second quarter, guns blazing, hits Sammy Wheeler. So surprising. Very surprising. I did not expect it. Honestly, when Adrian Martinez went out, I thought I thought we had a shot because we've got Deuce Vaughn and he's an excellent running back. But I thought, ooh, we're in trouble. But after that first half, I'm like, wow, Howard's got some game. He's been learning, he's been practicing, and he's gotten much better. So, okay, fast forward, K-State loses that game. Okay, doesn't score another point in the third and fourth quarter. Not sure about that. In my mind, I think it's partly the coaching staff not really having prepared to play with Will. So they were able to kind of spark things with some play calling in the first half to get things going. But with the adjustments from TCU, I don't think K-State had an answer for the adjustments. So I think that's what happens in the second half, right? And so no points are scored. Kansas State loses that game. Now, at the time, TCU is pretty high ranked, and they're 7-0. We knew they were really good, and they win this game. Okay, so, but that's a page turner. Now Will Howard takes over, and he does admirably well. I don't think we really see him as a starting quarterback yet at this point, but I think we see that he can score some points. And I'm sure the coaching staff saw that, okay, we've got something here, but keep in mind, the idea was always to redshirt Will Howard this year. That's why they brought Adrian Martinez in, because we wanted to have this bridge year where we wanted Will Howard and other quarterbacks, right? Because there's always a competition there to compete and get better and be ready, yet another year to have that development to be ready to play. But it didn't happen that way, as you can see. TCU game, all right, Will Howard is forced into play, and he does well. Here's where we determine that, okay, maybe let's say that this was a 2-game page turner, because the second half of this TCU game, I think we thought, oh man, we didn't score any touchdowns. We may have been thinking, it was possibly a fluke that first half that Will was able to be successful. But this next week just showed it all. Blanked Oklahoma State 48-0. Now, the disclaimer is Oklahoma State had a lot of injuries, and they did. The rest of their season kind of went downhill because of that. But this game was huge because Will Howard played an excellent game here. Let's take a look. I mean, you can see already he had 296 yards, so he's creeping up on 300 yards. Okay, now here's what's big. Let me point out something that kind of differentiates Will Howard from Adrian Martinez in the passing game specifically. The kid goes 21 for 37 for 296 yards. Now, the key stat here is he's got 4 touchdowns. So he's throwing touchdown passes. That's a huge difference. What that says is he understands the offense a little better, which is understandable because Adrian Martinez, this is his first year. But now he seems to be able to apply what he knows in the offense and use it to score more touchdowns. So he showed big here. He's got 4 touchdowns here. Now you add the fact that Deuce Vaughn has 22 carries for 158 yards, and Oklahoma State is in trouble. They're in trouble, and they probably have no idea that Will Howard is even able to do this. This was likely a surprise to them. Maybe they saw the first half of the TCU game, but that wasn't much to see. So this likely surprised many other teams. This is a page turner because now what's happened is we've had one starting quarterback for, how many games is this in? We're 8 games in here. Okay? We've had one quarterback. Now we're flipping to a new quarterback after Adrian Martinez has gotten hurt, and now we're realizing that he's also a starting level. He's a starter. He's a starting level quarterback with the skill set. So, and he's slightly different than Adrian Martinez. He's a passer. Big guy too, and a passer. So different game plan goes to stopping this type of play. than what you would see with Adrian Martinez. So not only do you have a new quarterback, he's high level, starter level, and he's got a different game. So now going into the rest of the season, you've got teams needing to now re-prepare for Kansas State with Will Howard in there. Not to mention that every game, and this is a coaching play, every game after this, the coaches are saying that Adrian Martinez could play. Right? So that makes a team think, well, it could be Adrian Martinez. We've got to prepare for him. This kid will beat you. But, oh, wait a minute. If Will plays, we've got to prepare for Will, but it's a different type of preparation. You're forcing teams to have to prepare for two very good quarterbacks that play a different type of game. Huge. That made the difference. That made the difference in the rest of the season. So now we're sitting at 6-2, and Will Howard is the starting quarterback. Adrian Martinez is hurt. Now, at this point in the season, we're thinking, well, Adrian Martinez may come back because we want Will to redshirt. Because how it works is if you play 4 games, over 4 games, you cannot redshirt. If you play under 4, then you can still redshirt, and the season doesn't count towards your eligibility. So at this point, we're thinking, well, how about we get Adrian back in and we let him play so that we can redshirt Will Howard. Now, what happens here is, so we put Adrian Martinez back in. He plays the Texas game, and he plays well. Okay, he 329 yards. Let's check it out. Okay, and Texas is a really good team. So we end up getting beat here. I don't know if we win this game if we had Will Howard in or not. It's really hard to say because, we were able to score. We just weren't able to score enough, right? And that's obvious. But we didn't score a lot. I think we scored, once per quarter. I think we got a couple in the fourth quarter, but it just wasn't enough. Martinez had a great game, 24 for 36, 329 yards. He's 2 TDs in the air, but he had 1 interception. So this game was one of those games where I think their running game was too much. We didn't have an answer for it. Bijan Robinson here had 30 carries for 209 yards. That's the difference. That's the difference. And this kid he's going to the NFL. Okay, I think he's going to get drafted. I think he's eligible. He's going to get drafted this year even. So Kstate had no answer for this guy, and whoever played here, I think we were going to lose this game. I don't think our defense had enough to stop this running game. We scored 27 points. That's an admirable score, but we weren't going to win this game. I think that running game that they had going was too much. It was too much for a lot of teams, right? They ended third in the Big 12. Okay, so this game we lost. I don't think it turned a page for the team. I think Adrian Martinez, I think he was able to come back here, but I think he got hurt again here. So I think after this game, it was going to be tough for him to come back. And so we were comfortable with Will Howard coming in. Again, we had 2 starting quarterbacks, guys. 2 starting quarterbacks. This is a football team's dream. And not only that, but 2 starting quarterbacks with 2 different skill sets. So now you're forcing teams to prepare for 2 different types of quarterbacks. One, an elite runner. One is showing that he can be an elite thrower. If you saw some of the throws he made, right? Will Howard, it was ridiculous. Okay. So, and not to mention that Adrian Martinez, he could throw the ball. So you've got 2 quarterbacks that are elite. We got the goods here. We got the goods this year. All right. So, but look, we lose this game. Okay. So let's jump back here to the schedule, because after this, Will Howard takes over as the starter here. I think, Adrian Martinez is hurt. I think he was hurt in this Iowa State game. He sits out. He tries to play TCU. he's not able to go there. Will finishes there. We lose. Oklahoma State, Will comes in, and then Texas, he tries to come back, and I think he's re-aggravated. I think it's a lower leg injury that he had, which it's going to be tough. He's a running quarterback. Okay. So, Will to the rescue here. Okay. We come out and play Baylor. And this was one of those games where Baylor was fighting for that Big 12 championship spot at this point. If they win this game, they in many ways become one of the front runners to be number 2 to play TCU, who's running the table already, to this point. Okay. So this was big. Will Howard comes in and smokes Baylor. We smoked Baylor. Now, the defense played a pretty big role in that. But if you look at Howard here, he's got 196 yards. But let's check out what he's able to do in this game. So the big thing for Howard, which really impresses me here, is he's got 3 touchdown passes. The kid knows how to throw touchdown passes. His stats are good, but many times that's not really enough. You've got to be able to score, and he's able to get the football into the end zone, and he's got 3 of them. Now, you combine that with the Deuce Vaughn, he's got 25 carries for 106 yards. Now, you've got a teams are going to be in trouble. Teams are going to be in trouble. How do they stop this? There is no stopping this, right? If you can't stop this or this, you're in trouble. And if you can't stop either, you're going to get blown out. And that's what happened here with Baylor. So teams now have a problem. Now they have to adjust to Will Howard, who's more of a throwing quarterback. So you see how now Baylor is, I'm sure all they've seen is Adrian Martinez. And not to mention that in these games, you've got a coaching staff that's going to say, well, we're not sure who's going to start. Of course, they say that because they want to force the opposing team to have to prepare for both quarterbacks. And that's what they've done here. So Baylor gets blown out. Okay. And this is as you can see, this team is peaking. It's growing. We go into West Virginia and we're able to win that game in West Virginia. Okay. Howard has 294 yards. We're able to get Giddens in there for 78 yards. Right. Then we go to KU. And that last game of the regular season, and we're able to win that game. Okay, Vaughn blows up for 147 yards. So now we've got a Will Howard-led team who's just winning games now. So now quarterback 2 takes over second portion of the season, and now we're continuing to progress, and it's going in the right direction. It's heading upward, right? Now flow into this TCU game. This game was amazing, guys. If you missed it, go watch it. If you can find it, stream it somewhere on demand somewhere. Awesome game. What we saw Will Howard able to make some pretty good throws and to score touchdowns here. And so let's look at the stats here. All right. So again, 2 touchdowns, right? Almost 200 yards. Vaughn has 130 yards. So TCU just heavily relied on Max Duggan, and he wasn't able to pull it out. But, look, at the time, they're undefeated at 12-0, and K-State is able to win this game in overtime. And if you did not see the end of this game, I'm talking about 2 goal line stands in overtime to win this game. This team's got character, y'all. This team's got character. This team is bad. This team is good. Okay. So now we're looking at a 10-3 season headed into the Sugar Bowl against Alabama. All right. This is a litmus test for this Kansas State program. If Kansas State can win this game, if they can win it big, oh man, that'd be immediate game changer, I think, for that program and for the Big 12. But I think that if they can just win this game, the recruiting that's going to come through for K-State, because think about who's watching Alabama play, right? And who's going to watch potentially K-State beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Eve. So this game is huge for K-State. And what got this team here is, in my opinion, man, of course, our running game has been ridiculous. Deuce Vaughn has been ridiculous. But then on top of that, we've got a solid defense. And then this year, what got this team over the hump was the fact that we had 2 starting level quarterbacks on our team. And both of them were able to put in significant time in playing significant minutes. And they both contributed heavily. And they were both needed in order to get this team over the hump, to beat a really good TCU team and to win the Big 12 championship. And I think in this Alabama game, if we can get both quarterbacks in the game, wow, that's going to be amazing. I mean, we already saw that we had a play for Adrian Martinez where he handed it off to Malik Knowles, and Malik Knowles passed it back to him, and Adrian Martinez was able to catch the ball for a first down. So if Adrian Martinez can be athletic enough to stay on the field with Will Howard on the field as a throwing quarterback, oh man, that opens up so many things for this offense, I think. If anything, it adds a wrinkle. Yeah, it adds something that a team would have to prepare for, or they probably wouldn't be ready for it. So it'd be somewhat of a wrinkle. But I'm hoping to see that. Hopefully Martinez is well enough to play. I think he's been out for some time. Hopefully he's been able to heal up and he can play in this game. I think it'd be amazing to see him play and see both of them play, because both of them have submitted so much time and effort to this team. And he's a senior. I'd like to see him play in this game. It'd be awesome. So, all right. Thanks a lot, everybody, for listening. Hope you guys enjoy my commentary here. And come back and see me. Thank you.